we can then dive in, ask any questions that you have, what you kind of want me to analyze, and we can go through it. Emmanuel and I can have a look and share our thoughts.
Thanks, Ryan. I just want to make sure, can everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great. So, yeah, just to give everyone a bit of a background, I'm looking at a property at the moment to potentially rent it out and let it out as an SA unit. It's a 1-bedroom flat in Leicester. It's in the city centre of Leicester. And here's my calculations over here. So everything in green that you want to be looking at. So I've done my analysis on the spreadsheet that Ryan uses generally, and I've looked at your videos, Ryan, as well, and I've put in the information I believe is correct. So I've got furniture here and so on. Just going down, so I've got my running costs here, I've got insurance. So the first question I have in regards to this is if I'm missing anything from the running costs. And the reason I'm asking that is I'm not sure about TV license as well, and whether maybe some of the furniture costs could be a TV, and a TV license may be required. I know it's not a huge cost, and also advertising and marketing. I'm assuming that's advertising and marketing for booking the rooms. Am I right?
No, the OTA commission is pretty much advertising and marketing as you would see it to get started. Okay. Advertising and marketing is when you start scaling, and maybe you start running some, Facebook paid ads to specific properties and things like that, and then you would allocate it against there. But for the sake of what you're looking to achieve, your advertising would be your OTA commission. Your furniture looks very high for a 1-bed apartment.
That's I did put a lot of contingency in there, as I'm not 100% sure on what works need to be done, but
so I think I don't think
it's a lot at all.
In terms of the furniture, would you be planning to source it and set it up yourself, or are you just looking to offload it?
So I would be potentially looking to offload it, I think, if I'm honest.
Okay. So you're always going to pay probably $1,000 more than if you do it yourself by giving it to somebody else. So, they need to make their money. They need to, make their margin and pay their staff. So, these furniture companies are not cheap, but they serve a purpose. So if you're going to use a furniture company, then you may be in the realms of that type of money. But I would say if you did it yourself, you could do. We would kit a 1-bed out for not shy of 1,500 quid.
Okay, well, I haven't put a lot of thought into that, so I could potentially be sourcing it myself. It's not.
Can I just jump in and just give this? I furnished a 2-bed yesterday using a furniture company, and it cost me 4,750. That was a 2-bed. So okay. I just thought I'd just jump in with that.
Yeah, thanks, Leo.
Oh, wow. Okay, thanks, Leo.
Okay, so rent, rates, business rates, license water rates, all looks fairly simple. TV license. Okay, go down. Let's go at the main things, which is obviously the revenue.
Yeah. So just before I go on to the revenue bit, I've put a slightly lower cost here. I'm going to explain why. So if I go onto this tab here, so appreciation in dollars, I think it's my VPN on my laptop at the moment. So I've had a look at locations, I've looked at properties in the area, and I've noticed that there are quite a few Airbnbs around the area. The reviews aren't massive. I know that on your videos, you're looking at, potentially 60+ reviews, but I know that plays a short space in what we're looking at in terms of location.
Not necessarily. I mean, because someone's got 25 reviews there, you got to remember that's on one channel, which might only be 30% of their revenue stream. Not everybody leaves a review. So, you could say that there's been 75, 100 people through that property just from that one channel. You times that by, a few more channels plus direct bookings, and, So apart from the one that's got 6, but even that's fine because it means that they potentially had 20 to 30 stays. Those other properties have more than likely had at least 100 people through their doors. So Leicester is a good area. We've got properties in Leicester, and it is a good area. So
the property I'm looking at is that red dot over there.
That's perfect.
Something fairly important, I think, to mention here is I'm unsure of freeholders' consent. So this is a flat, obviously on the leasehold. Now, Anish, my cousin over here, he owns a property in that building. And I've also noticed there's another property in the same building that's being let out as an SA.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is the issue. When I looked at it, it didn't, the pinpoint on Airbnb wasn't where the building was. It was around the corner, and the title of the property is named High Cross Deluxe Apartment. So when I see that, I saw that they put the pin around the corner. So I feel like potentially the landlord hasn't got freeholder's consent, and maybe that's why they're doing it that way.
Well, you don't want to get into any deals that are going to, come back to bite you. There's many students within the group here who've had that already. So it's not worth your time and effort. So before you get into any agreements with anyone, you want sight of the lease, and you want to read the lease, and you want to make sure that, that there are no covenants, that there is nothing stopping you operating that business, because you could spend $4,000 on furniture and next week they could shut you down. It's not worth doing. So you want to be checking the facts. Don't go on what someone else is doing, because they might not be doing it right. You want to make sure you're doing it right. And that's by the contracts. And if you can't, then it's fine. We just go and find another property. There's plenty out there.
And if on the lease it does state that this is not allowed to be done, is there a way around that in terms of speaking with the freeholder maybe? Or do you think
you can speak to the freeholder? You can try and do a deal, but the time and energy that you would put into that, you'd be better off spending that just finding another property that you can make work.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Besides that, it looks like it's a really good location. Leicester Stadium is always announced that it's expanding, which is positive news, and population's over like 300,000. Now going on to the state information over here, initially I put 85 for weekday price and weekend price for 95.
Mm-hmm.
Now the person in the same building is letting theirs out at £80 per night, but that's excluding the cleaning fee. So the cleaning fee is an extra £35. So is it fair to say that I can charge around the 110 mark?
The cleaning fee is nothing but smoke and mirrors on figures. I don't like doing it that way. It's not my preference. Reason being, if I was to go and I was searching this morning on Airbnb for a villa in Dubai for Christmas. And if I then get to the checkout point, it says it's X amount of money all the way through. And then I get to the checkout and it's another like $2,000 because they're adding cleaning on. That's going to piss me off. So that's kind of the mindset that I've ran with. Don't get me wrong. There's many hosts that do it the other way around. I don't really necessarily think there's a right or a wrong. That's just my personal preference. If you go to booking.com, you just get a price and that's your price. I just think it's a mindset thing. But for me, I've always just charged a rate, and that rate includes cleaning fees, etc. Because ultimately, the money still comes to your bank account. It's not like the guest then gets his card out and pays your cleaner, which a lot of people don't really understand. They say, "Oh, well, I've got no cleaning fees." Well, you have still got to pay your cleaners. You just get the money in a different way. It's just wooden dollars. So yeah, like for like is what you want to be at. So you could quite easily comfortably add £20 a night onto both of those prices if they're adding £30 cleaning fee on,
okay.
So you got 5 bookings per month, minimum night stay 3, cleaning fee 26, linen fee 25. So you got 18 nights booked. Okay, cool. You've got VAT in there, which you'll probably not pay initially, but it's always worthwhile, putting it in because you will hit the threshold, then you'll have to pay it. So this side of things is just like a quick snapshot picture. So based on 18 nights, you're gonna have 245 quid. Do me a favor, just change the weekday nights to 12. Okay, so your break-even point on this property is about 15 nights a month.
Okay, that's good to hear. Yeah.
Yeah. So
and is that what everyone normally looks at? How many days per month do you guys look at? Potentially 15 days to break even?
Yeah, and I think between sort of 13 and 17 days. I would even say sometimes up to 20, but that's pushing it depending on where it is. But you could also I mean, even if you dropped your rate down to say 95 or 90 and 95, or 95 and 100, you'll probably not see, that there you go. Yeah. So you still sort of break even at those rates based on 15 nights there, give or take. So,
yeah.
So there's plenty of wiggle room here. You then put that up to 16 nights booked, for the weekdays and 8 booked throughout the weekends. And that's going to give you probably a true picture of hopefully what that unit would start to make. So, it looks like a really good deal. So,
just to stop you over there. Based on the rental figure here, just to let you know, this flat was rented out for £900 a month. The tenant left at the end of July, and now it's being advertised for £850 per month. So the way I've looked at that rental figure is I've taken away, 9% or around 11% for lettings management fees. That brings it down to £750. And then I've also included extra £50 for voids, because they normally have void periods of 2 months per year. So I've put that down, and that's the way I've calculated that £700 figure. I haven't exactly negotiated that yet. I'm going to speak to them on the weekend about that. So yeah, the original is 850, and I'm looking to negotiate to 700. Does that sound reasonable? Am I looking in the right way?
Yeah, 100%.
What does it look like at 850?
Sorry, say that again, please.
Go worst case scenario, and what does it look like at 850? The figures.
Yeah, it's still going to be a deal. But yeah, I mean, listen, this is where we come back to the relationship game that we spoke about in the mastermind, right? So, this is where we get on side, and you remember the slides where we talked about the benefits. This is exactly how you want to be getting all those into their head before you present any figure.
Okay.
You should really, don't even mention figures when you go on the viewing. Just tell them about the service, about the benefits, about what you can do for them over the long term, and then tell them you'll present an offer. Now that you've seen it, and you can get a clear picture of what's required for setup and things like that, and then you'll present a nicely worded offer letter, a bit like what we covered on one of the last calls. Okay. And that's how you professionally go about reducing the amount of rent that you pay, but still be able to get the deals.
Okay. Another thing is, this is based off me managing it. It could be a scenario where I get it managed by a separate company. And I don't know, what's your thoughts on that based on the figures as well? Obviously, that will cut into the profit slightly, but that's what I was looking at potentially doing as a tied landlord, I'd say.
I think you've got two decisions to make with the serviced accommodation business, and I think you should set your stall out from day one. You either want to keep it at an arm's length for good, or you want to build an internal sort of operation like I have. And one way or another, you're going to pay for running the portfolio. As you scale, naturally, you get economies of scale on that money, which is why that was my preferred option. But you can choose either option. If you are wanting to get it managed, you just need to put a calculation in the property management box above. But, it will take away 15% of your gross revenue.
Okay, that's great. I feel like, most questions are answered. I've got a few ad hoc questions here. Like, I looked at your videos and I saw there's, public liability and professional indemnity insurance and so on. Do you have separate SA insurance for worst case scenarios like fires, malicious damage? Do you have anything along those lines? And is that the £19 here that's put over here?
To be honest, the £19 there is for my owned units that I've got. So rather than rent to rent, realistically, the way that you would set the agreements up on a rent to rent should be via a managed contract. So effectively, you're just becoming the management agent of that property, but you're paying a fixed return rather than a fluctuating income. And the contracts are in Kajabi, and you'll see the first two lines basically state that, whatever Sunhill Properties Limited must be named as the management agent on the mortgage and also on the insurance, so that if anything happens under your watch, it falls back on their insurance. They might need to pay a higher premium. You're talking like £6-7 a month different to a standard AST insurance. And from that, they're going to get a huge, benefit. You could even say, listen, I'll give you an extra £7 rent if it really becomes a stickling point, because in the grand scheme of things, it's nothing. But Sell Now benefits, they should know that and be willing to swallow that cost. And then as a company, Sunhill Property Limited wants to have professional indemnity and public liability insurance in case a guest hurts himself, or you send a maintenance guy around there who works for you and they hurt themselves. You should always have that covered for your business anyway. I don't bother with content insurance anymore. I did for the first few, but it's a waste of money. Furniture's furniture. It does get broken and you end up having to replace it. By the time you've paid excesses and what have you, it's just The amount of money you'd pay out in insurance over the term of building the portfolio is probably not worth the cost of repair and stuff. And 9 times out of 10, a guest's done it anyway. So you just take out the deposit and you fix it that way. So you're financially not impacted. It's just the hassle of sorting it out.
Okay. And Ryan, do you have any one bed apartments in your own portfolio, or do you feel like, do you see people struggling to let out one bed apartments as essays, or is that a good thing?
No, we've got one beds, they sleep 4 people. They work very well, sofa bed and everywhere. So, they work well.
And also, can you just confirm, besides the location and the type of property, I'm assuming like the true success of this essay business is based on how active you are when advertising and looking to book your rooms. Am I right?
To an extent, I think essay is initially about getting your property off to a good start. So, great photographs, nicely dressed and in the right locations, pricing it keen to start off with. So the algorithms trigger. And then it's about being on top of your game. So, changing the photographs every now and then, changing your title descriptions, moving your photograph order around, using a dynamic pricing tool so your prices are fluctuating. There's various little hacks that you can do to trigger algorithms. The core of profit in SA for me comes from getting on the phone and speaking to your current guests and trying to harvest them into direct bookings.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that's really good point.
You'll notice in the OTA commissions box, if you just click on that 174, that the percentage up there is 15% divided by 2.
Yeah.
Now, for me, that's because I expect, a minimum of, 50% direct bookings across the course of a 12-month period. And therefore, that will dilute and saturate the OTA commission across the whole portfolio, because obviously you don't pay commission on those. So you've got to be doing that to drive your business forward. Don't think that you can just plug and play these things. That's when you do get burned. The better your follow-up process with the guests, the more you can harvest bookings, the more you'll get out of it.
And the last question is, you look at a minimum of 2 years when setting up the contract with landlords, right? You look at minimum of 2 years.
I've got a 3-month break clause in all my contracts.
3-month break clause. Okay.
I'll sign up for a year, but any party can give 3 months. But that comes down to, negotiation and building the value and making them feel comfortable that, listen, I'm not going to go anywhere, but it gives us both flexibility. And as long as you sell the value enough, then they're quite open to.
But I'm assuming the longer the period, the better, because that's where you can essentially make more profit, right? So if it's 3 years.
Yeah, but if you think about the mindset of a landlord, right? If you've got a property and you're paying them rent every month, but if we go back to the benefits, right? If you've sold the benefits of the property, of your service, then why is he going to pull the plug after 3 months and go and try and find a tenant that's going to potentially trash his property or not pay his rent? He's not. Why is he going to pull the plug after a year? He's not. But it gives you the flexibility that if it doesn't work, you can pull the plug and get out, and that's, but for there, I always phrase it in a way that it's flexibility on both sides in case, something changes on your behalf, and they quite like that. But again, this comes back to the trust factor. We've got to build that trust, and make sure that they understand your service and build the know, like, trust.
Okay, awesome. Well, yeah, I think I've got all the information I need. I feel a lot more confident now.